history of Cbiz, no title has been as lucrative and as damaging as the 4,000-year beauty. For Ju Jingyi, this wasn't just a nickname. It was a ghost that haunted her every move. Originally a mistranslation from a Japanese media outlet, Ju Jingyi didn't just accept the title. She inhaled it, lived it, and eventually became a prisoner of it. But here is the bitter truth. When you sell yourself as a once-in-a-millennium miracle, you leave no room for being human. You leave no room for a single pore, a single wrinkle, or a single flawed emotion. The 4,000-year myth created a monster of marketing. It forced Ju Jingyi into a permanent state of performance, where the girl disappeared and was replaced by a meticulously curated product. To maintain this legend, she couldn't just be pretty, she had to be impossible. This led to a career built on a foundation of denial. Denial of her past face, denial of her physical enhancements, and a desperate struggle to convince the world that she woke up looking like a porcelain doll. The tragedy of part one is simple. Ju Jingyi didn't find fame. She found a cage. She spent years trying to prove she was a miracle, only to realize that the world was no longer looking at her talent. They were looking for the glitch in the 4,000-year algorithm. She became the icon of insecurity, a woman so afraid of being ordinary that she forgot how to be real. Tonight, we peel back the first layer of the porcelain. If she is a miracle of 4,000 years, why does she seem so terrified of a single camera angle? In the world of acting, the face is a tool used to convey pain, joy, and the raw messiness of the human experience. But for Ju Jingyi, her face is not a tool. It is a sacred relic that must never be touched, smudged, or altered. Welcome to the era of the semi-permanent mask, where the character dies so that the makeup can live. Whether she is playing a fugitive on the run, a grieving daughter, at a funeral, or even a prisoner being tortured, Ju Jingyi remains the same. Perfectly powdered, lips tinted to a precise crimson, and not a single hair out of place. The absurdity reached its peak in her recent historical dramas. In one infamous scene, her character was kidnapped and gagged. Yet the gag was a neatly folded piece of fabric that she held delicately in her mouth like a piece of fine jewelry, fearing it might ruin her lipstick. In another, she attended a funeral with a full face of idol makeup, including her signature shimmering eyeshadow and meticulously placed baby hairs glued to her forehead. This isn't acting. It's a 40-episode commercial for her own vanity. By refusing to look ugly or real, Ju Jingyi has committed the ultimate sin of an artist. She has disconnected from reality. She is so terrified of a single bad frame that she has paralyzed her own expressions. Her eyes remain vacant, her forehead immobile, all to protect a layer of foundation that seems thicker than the scripts she chooses. She isn't playing a role. She is playing Ju Jingyi in a costume. The mask has become so heavy that there is no longer a person. Underneath, only an aesthetic that refuses to breathe. If Ju Jingyi's face is a fortress, then her body is a carefully engineered skyscraper. In this part, we're not just talking about skincare, we're talking about the architecture of beauty. Ju Jingyi has become the unofficial spokesperson for lifestyle fraud, where every inch of her being appears to be an illusion designed for the camera. From the infamous shoulder pads used to fix her sloping shoulders to the thick, artificial hairline that never seems to move, she isn't just wearing clothes. She's wearing a secondary exoskeleton of perfection. The internet's obsession with her fake parts isn't just about vanity. It's about the sheer effort she spends denying it. When she appears with broad, 90-degree shoulders in one video and small, narrow shoulders in another, the mystery of the disappearing shoulder pads becomes a national meme. When her hair looks impossibly thick despite older photos showing a much thinner scalp, she credits genetics while the wind on set reveals the tapes and sprays holding the illusion together. But why go to such extremes? Because in the world of Ju Jingyi, being naturally beautiful is the only currency that matters. To admit to the pads, the wigs, or the enhancements would be to admit she is human, and a human cannot be a 4,000-year miracle. She has built a body of lies where even her height is a state secret, often hidden under floor-length gowns and 20 centimeters platform heels. She isn't a person anymore. She's an architectural project, a walking exhibition of how much fake it takes to look real in the age of high-definition filters. For a true actor, a camera is a window into the soul. But for Ju Jingyi, every camera lens is just another mirror. In her world, the priority isn't how does my character feel, but is my eyeliner symmetrical at this angle? This is what we call acting in a mirror. Watch any of her dramas, and you'll see a performer who is constantly conscious of her own reflection. She doesn't deliver lines, she delivers poses. This obsession has created a specialized and frankly robotic style of acting. To keep her face looking perfect and avoid any ugly wrinkles, she has virtually eliminated facial expressions. When she's sad, she pouts delicately so her foundation doesn't crack. When she's angry, she stares blankly to ensure her baby hairs stay in place. Even her crying scenes look like a high-end commercial for waterproof mascara. A single, clean tear falling down a motionless cheek, never reddening her nose or puffing her eyes. The result is a devastating void of chemistry. Whether she's paired with a legendary veteran or a hot rising star, Ju Jingyi remains in her own beauty bubble. She isn't interacting with her co-stars. She's interacting with the lighting technician. She has sacrificed the raw, ugly, beautiful truth of acting for a static 2D aesthetic. In the end, her characters all feel like the same person. A porcelain doll who accidentally wandered onto a film set and is just waiting for the director to yell, "Cut," so she can check her makeup in the monitor. In the narrative of Ju Jingyi, she is never the villain. She is always the misunderstood martyr. This is the victim complex, a sophisticated PR strategy designed to weaponize her insecurities. Whenever she is called out for her fake appearance or wooden acting, the response is always a calculated display of quiet suffering. She posts photos of her practicing late at night or shares subtle captions about staying true to herself, painting a picture of a fragile girl bullied by a cruel world just because she's too beautiful. But the public isn't buying the hard-working narrative anymore because her efforts always seem to lead back to her vanity. She claims to be a perfectionist, yet that perfectionism is only applied to her hair and makeup, never to her craft. When she talks about her natural beauty, like having thick hair from birth or not knowing how to take a selfie, it comes across as green tea behavior, a subtle form of bragging disguised as humbleness. This creates a toxic cycle. The more she denies the obvious, the more the public mocks her. And the more she is mocked, the more she retreats into her victim shell. Her fans, the Jingpis, become her soldiers in a war against reality, attacking anyone who dares to point out that the emperor has no clothes, or in this case, the fairy has no soul. She has mastered the art of being a victim of her own myth, making it impossible to give her honest feedback without being labeled a hater. She isn't just protecting her face. She's protecting a delusion that she is above criticism. As we look at the trajectory of Ju Jingyi, one question looms over the shimmer and the silk. What happens when the 4,000-year miracle meets the reality of time? In an industry that moves at lightning speed, beauty is the most volatile currency, and Ju Jingyi has banked her entire legacy on a version of perfection that has a very short expiration date. You can patch a hairline, you can pad a shoulder, and you can filter a frame, but you cannot manufacture a soul. The tragedy of Ju Jingyi isn't that she isn't beautiful. It's that she has become a slave to that beauty. By choosing to be a living filter rather than a living actor, she has painted herself into a corner. As she ages, the porcelain doll image will inevitably crack. Without the foundation of raw talent or the courage to be ugly for a role, There is no path forward into maturity. She is a statue in a world that demands movement, a frozen image in a medium that requires life. In the end, Ju Jingyi is a cautionary tale for the digital age. She is the ultimate product of a visual-first culture that values the packaging over the content. She has spent 4,000 years building a masterpiece of a mask, only to find that the world has moved on to something more authentic, more human, and more real. As the filters fade and the 4,000-year hype becomes a whisper of the past, we are left with a haunting realization. The girl who refused to ever look bad may have forgotten how to ever look like herself. The prison of perfection is finally complete, and Ju Jingyi is the only one left inside.